Hey, what is up guys, Wavy Films here, and today I have another custom LEGO minifigure tutorial for you guys, not a showcase today. And today I'm going to be doing a tutorial on minifigure likeness. So here I have probably some of my favorite likenesses that I have. So we got Mark Ruffalo, aka Bruce Banner. Hopefully that focuses. Yep. We got Tom Holland, aka Peter Parker. Bill Denborough, and I don't remember the actor's name, but that dude. Gal Gadot, Wonder Woman, and I'll take off the headpiece there so you can see the face. We got Danny Rand, Finn Jones, Claire Temple, and Amber Heard, Mira. So those are just some of my favorite likenesses. You guys might like some of the other things I've done for likeness, but those are my favorites. And today what I'm going to be talking about is how I paint likeness. So as you can see here, I have two colors of paint. I need a third one actually. So these are like the three main colors I use. Black is for painting details around eyes or painting the mouth. Brown is usually for hair. So the head demonstration that I'm going to do today is going to need this for stubble, like facial hair. Sometimes you can use gray or black depending on the person's hair color, but I'm using this. And brown for details such as the line, if you could, that will focus, the lines like underneath the mouth, like the chin mark, or like the smirk, or just stuff like that. That's what I use brown for the like details. So yeah, what I use is a base. Now, you obviously need a Lego head. Most figures, what I will use is a Legolas head. I have a stack of them right here. So a Legolas head, I mean, it's a bit of a meme, but it does work. It's great for likenesses, in my opinion. If it will, you know, load. This head is great for likenesses. I've used it on so many. I used it for Bill, Tom Holland. I used it for Finn Jones. No, I didn't. Okay, I didn't. I was gonna say I might have used it for one of them, but I didn't. And I use it on so many other figures. It's just the main head. I used it on Stan, also from It. I used it on my Green Lantern here. Benedict Cumberbatch, Doctor Strange, and Captain America, Steve Rogers. I've used it on so many figures, and that's just because it works. So I generally will erase the mouth and cheekbones, and in some cases the eyebrows, and then paint on my own designs. For example, this is basically a example of a really heavily modded, like different eyebrows, different everything, heavily modded Legolas head. Whereas something like Stan or Doctor Strange, where Stan are not too modded because their face shapes are similar to the Legolas head, where you can tell that it was Legolas head. Like, I think for Benedict Cumberbatch, I didn't even change anything. All I did was paint on the facial hair and change the eyebrow color. So it's definitely very useful, and it does look like Benedict Cumberbatch, which is why I used it for that figure. So the demonstration I'm going to be doing today is Jeremy Renner, because the Lego one does not look like him at all. So I will be using that. Also, I do want to say that for different figures, different heads are okay. Don't use a Legolas head every time. For example, for my Bruce Banner here, I use the Lego's official Bruce Banner head. I didn't like the look of the original head, but after adding the lines around it and the stubble, I think it looks just like him. So some heads can be modded. Like, for example, this obviously wasn't a Legolas head because it's a different skin tone, and the hair pieces want to come off okay. But yeah, and it was a male head too, and I changed it into a female head. Most female heads that I have are not Legolas, just because Legolas head's primarily male. Gosh, I did use the Legolas head for Mantis though, and turned it into a female head. So it can be used for females. If all you want to use is Legolas heads, that's fine. but obviously for different skin tones you're going to need different heads, and if Lego already has a head that you can modify, or if you know that there's a head that looks similar and you just want to change it up a little bit, that's okay too. So like I said, I'm going to be doing a Jeremy Renner head, so I'm going to be using the Legolas head. I've pre-erased the mouth, the ends of the eyebrows, and the cheekbones, because that's usually what I do. And I'm going to be zooming in here. That was the wrong way. So here we go. Let me just get the camera in position for this boy. So there we go. I'll be trying my best not to get in the way of the camera. Usually when I work on a head, I hold it like this, like in my fingers, but you obviously can't see that. So for obviously demonstration purposes, I have it on this dummy torso, and I'll try to be painting it using that. So yeah. First things first, what you got to do is look at reference. So I have my phone right here. Just gotta unlock it. And I have a picture. Use multiple pictures. Just Google image search the actor's name, and it obviously comes up with a bunch of pictures of their faces. I'll zoom out a bit. So like for Jeremy Renner, obviously it's gonna come up. What the heck is that? I don't know. But it obviously comes up with a bunch of pictures of Jeremy Renner. So use one if you like the specific expression. I kind of like the expression here, kind of more stern looking. So I'm going to go with that. So first thing that I kind of look for is the eyes, eyebrows. So look at the shape of the eyebrows. His obviously kind of just go down and then back up, and then they go to like a point at the end. Look for facial features like wrinkles, like he has the creases between his eyes, forehead wrinkles, which I probably won't add, just because, you know, don't add too many lines or details because it will make the character look older. He's got like a line under his mouth, and mouth is something else that's very key to likeness. Usually it's eyes, eyebrows, mouth. If you can get those, and facial hair, because obviously if a character has facial hair, then, you know, it's gonna be pretty, it's gonna need the facial hair. So yeah, so first thing I look at is the eyebrows. So as you can see, it's like that, and then it goes up, and then points back down. So keep your reference off to the side. I'm going to keep mine over here. Yeah, that's the right way to zoom in. So his color of his eyebrows are dark brown, so I'm going to shake up my dark brown paint, grab it out here, and we'll get to work. So I'll dip in the, and I like to hold the head sideways usually when doing this. So dip it in there, and then this is kind of hard to do with the camera here. Actually, here, let me readjust the camera just so that it's easier for me to get onto the hold on to the figure. So this starting shape of the eyebrow here is pretty much the same as Jeremy Renner's, and if you paint a little bit over, that's okay. Just pre-scratch it off. I use pins, if y'all don't know. Just because I find they're easier to work with. Just making sure my nose doesn't get in the shot, because I like to lean in pretty close when I work on figures. And so we're gonna recolor the eyebrow there, and then fix up the end of it. And sorry if, you know, the shot's really bad, because I gotta paint, and it's hard to do that. So we kind of have it here, and I know he's off camera, but I just gotta scratch off a bit of the paint. So yeah, we kind of got it here. Where is it? There it is. With the one eyebrow, as you can see, I kind of matched the shape of Mr. Renner's eyebrows here. If we just hold this figure, I don't know. This is hard to do. Hold the figure up here. You can see. It's somewhat the same shape, so I'm going to go ahead and do the other eyebrow, and then I'll get back to you guys. Alright guys, so I just did the other eyebrow, so you can see, sorry if they're not really that symmetrical. I'm trying my hardest here. It's really late at night, so I'm kind of tired, and that's messing up with my painting. Plus, you know, painting with a camera, when I am painting is actually really hard, so I'm trying my best here. But yeah, so let's see if I can move this figure down a bit and then move the camera over again, just because that'll make it easier for me. If I paint like this, that should be a bit better. So next, zooming back out, I do the eyes. Now, Legolas eyes I usually don't tamper with just because they work on whatever figure. But you can kind of see he has lines on the side of his eyes, which if we look through other pictures, they are still there. And if they're still there, then that means obviously to do it. Because, oh god, why is that? That was out of frame. Because usually, okay, let's go back to this. You can see as the line beside his eye, it's in this one, and it's in most of the pictures. So if it's in most of the pictures, do it, because sometimes it could be just the expression makes that certain like crease or something come up. He also has like heavy bags under his eyes, so I will be doing that too. And he also has the creases in between his eyes, so I'll be doing that as well. So that's where I take out the regular brown paint, shake it up, and then just get a little bit of it. Okay, get it. It's exploding by itself because air bubbles. Get a little bit of it, and then just that was really, really thick, but just gonna do a line of it. And you can't really even see me painting this because it's on the other side of the head. But I just got one line, and then we're gonna get the other one right now. And if the line ends up being too thick, just, oh god, I don't want this to go off camera, but it's really hard, guys, I'm so sorry. And then scratch off if the line is too thick, and there we got the lines in between his eyes. If it wants to focus, you know, that'd be nice. There, you can see the lines in between the eyes. I'm gonna just tweak those a bit, but in general, those are basically what you want to go for. Next, we're gonna go with the lines under the eyes. So I'm gonna take more brown paint, and I'm just gonna basically outline the bottom of the eye. Yeah, just gonna outline the bottom of the eye. So don't make it too thick, because then obviously it's gonna look really weird. And don't make it too thin, because then you won't see it. So you gotta get it like the right thickness. And then we'll do the other eye. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, so that's what I just did is about good. So I'll show you that too. This is hard. My camera's really angled here. So you can kind of see the lines under the eyes there. Next is probably the hardest part in my opinion, which is the mouth. Because you don't want to have the mouth too high. That was my problem with my Captain America boy here. And I had to fix it up. And some people might say it's still a bit too high. I mean, I'm happy with it now, but at first it was up a bit too high, so I had to change it up. But yeah, so next is the mouth. So again, looking at your reference, you're gonna have to look at the reference a lot here, and that's just kind of part of the whole thing. Kind of look at the shape of the mouth. Don't look at the lips, because male minifigures don't have lips, although they can sometimes help shape it. But look through, again, it's off screen a bit, but look through the pictures. Okay, I just exited out. I'm sorry, this is a very informal, like, kind of all over the place video, but I'm trying my best here, guys. Look for kind of an expression you want through the photos. Like, this is something I want to go with the mouth, and if it was more HD, it would help, but it's kind of blurry. So let's look for a different picture. just because it's not very, that one isn't very good. So we're going to look through the references, and this one looks good. So you're going to look at the shape of the mouth. Obviously, usually it's just a straight line, which is fine. You'll end up painting that for most figures. What you want to look for is extras. Like, for example, he has these little side marks that go down at the end of his mouth. Sometimes, depending on the expression, and I would show you on my Captain America, but you can't really see it because of the beard, so I'll show you on my Luke Cage. You can see the mouth is kind of an M shape almost. Sometimes you can do that, and of course it's not gonna focus. You can see it's kind of, the mouth is kind of in an M shape. You can only do that with certain characters, certain expressions. Like I said, I did it for my Captain America because that's what Chris Evans' expression is in that, but this doesn't really work. That doesn't really work for Jeremy Renner. So, like I said, just kind of do a straight line, and then I'm gonna do the lines off the side. And I guess you just kind of have to decide whether or not you want to do that in the black lines or in the extra detailed brown lines, depending on what you think will look better. So if we zoom back in here, that was a little too far. First thing I do is just put a dot so that I know if the mouth is going to be high or low enough. You just kind of gotta guess by just putting that dot there that you can see. It doesn't have to be exactly in the middle, but try and get it as close as you can. And then just kind of think, is that a good enough height for the mouth, because you don't want it to be too high up, because then it looks weird, and you don't want it to be too far down low. And I think that dot's good, so now I gotta open up the paint. Let that focus again. Off the one side, off the one side, just paint a very thin line. Now, I know a lot of you guys are going to be like, wait, I can't paint thin lines. And that's fine. If you paint really, really thick lines, it's always okay if you just, like, go back over with a toothpick or something and scratch the excess off once it dries. And then just scratch it into the shape you want. If you don't think you're experienced enough to paint that thin line. But if you paint a thin line, or if you can paint thin lines, then go for it, because that's what I do, and what so many others do. So, yeah, I don't really talk a lot when, so there, I kind of messed up a bit, and it's fine if you mess up. Just kind of scratch off the excess, and I gotta fix that side of the mouth. Yeah, just scratch off the excess, and then repaint. And my eyes are kind of getting all messed up because I'm tired. They're like getting all foggy and stuff, if you get what I mean. Yeah. So I kind of made his mouth a little wide here, and if you do stuff like that, just kind of look at it and see if it helps with the likeness. This may have, actually. Okay, no, that's a bit too wide. So what you can do, like in this case, that I made the mouth a bit too wide, is I'm just going to scratch off the sides a bit, but keeping it in the shape that I want it to be. Just because, you know, then you don't have to repaint it. And so that kind of works, right there. And the mouth, yeah, the mouth looks good. So now that we have that, go back and we saw the two lines coming off the sides. I'm not going to paint those in black just because there are more creases in his mouth than actually his mouth itself. So what you want to do is, again, take the brown paint and then paint just two little lines beside the mouth. So we're gonna paint one, like, sometimes I get too little paint on the end of my thing and then it doesn't actually come off on the figure. I'm gonna paint that side of the mouth. Then we just gotta paint the other side and try to keep him on frame at the same time. And then we'll paint Alright. So there we have the lines painted, and I'll show you in a sec. There we go. So we'll widen it back out, and we have the two lines painted, as you can see there. I think that's pretty good for now. What I do have to go in and add is I think he's missing some chin detail, because obviously that doesn't look quite like Jeremy Renner yet. You can kind of see the beginnings, but it's not quite there. And I do still have to do the stubble, which I'll go over in a second. But sometimes if a figure isn't looking that great, and I'm not going to zoom back in for this, is just like I showed you on the Tom Holland figure, a little line underneath the mouth doesn't hurt. Just a thin line under the mouth, kind of like as a lip. So yeah, and I will show you the stubble technique after this. Just because that's part of painting likeness most of the time. I'm just gotta scratch off the excess, and I know my hand's in the way here probably, but I'm gonna scratch off the sides of that. And sometimes you can use your finger, like if you scratch off some paint that's dried and it sticks to the head, I generally like use my finger to wipe it off, but there we go. So now it's starting to look like Jeremy Renner. So last but not least is the stubble. And so I do want to say 100% that this is not my technique. This is a technique that I learned from my buddy Shane, The Last Prime. I'll leave a link to his channel down in the description. And yeah, it's completely his technique. And I've started to use it more on figures. I didn't really used to up until recently. I saw a couple other of my friends using it, and I was like, oh yeah, I remember, I used to do that. So I've used it on Batman here. I'll take off the head. If it focuses, you can see that stubble there that's not just painted on dots like Lego does. I've used it on, let me just look for, oh, I used it on Bruce Banner, which I showed you earlier. There he is. So yeah, and I really like how it actually ends up looking. So take your dark brown paint, generally was what I use for stubble. You can use gray if it's older character, black if his hair is black, but generally dark brown, black, or gray. In this case, it's for Jeremy Renner, it's dark brown. And as you can see in the picture, he has the mustache, just lightly stubble, and then the little beard at the bottom of his chin there, which I'll show you. So in Infinity War, I don't know, they just released the new pictures, or their new set photos, and he has a mohawk, which is cool. And I'm not so sure if he has the stubble, so if he doesn't, I'll just eventually scratch it off, but I thought this was a good head to use, because it, you know, has all the elements. And so, one second, I'm gonna zoom it out for a bit. So what you want to do is just take your brush, put it into the paint, just the end of it though, and then just kind of take a paper towel and just start painting the paper towel. This will, because you're going to dry brush, so you do that until there's like not a lot of paint left on the end of the brush, and then just paint that onto the figure itself. And don't worry, and just kind of dab it on. And don't worry about getting the correct shape, and if it's too heavy, what I just use my finger to kind of dab it away. And don't, like I said, don't worry about the shape at the moment, just worry about getting it in all the places you need it to be, because later I just take a toothpick and scratch the shape in. Jeremy Renner, his beard is actually not that brown, so I might add in some grays. If you want to do layered coloring, that's what I did for my Rick Grimes figure, which many of you probably have never seen, but go over on my Instagram and just look very far down and you'll find him probably about a year old at this point. So yeah, just do that, and you can see we have the beard there, and then I'm going to do it for the mustache. Be careful on the mustache, try not to paint over any of the lines on the mouth you've already painted, just because then you have to scratch it off and then repaint those lines, and don't paint over the eyes themselves, just because it's a pain in the butt. So just, you know, dab it on using your finger to make sure it's not too thick. and then just continue to paint a straight line across. And yeah, so that's about good. Obviously, it's gonna look weird right now. If it'll focus, it's gonna look weird. So just gonna put my paintbrush in some water here and dry it off, and then take a toothpick, which is what I do. Any toothpick you have lying around, I take an X-Acto knife sometimes and carve it out. Yeah, just kind of whittle it to make it a bit thinner, and then just take your reference picture and look at your head and just scratch wherever there does not need to be hair, blah blah blah. I need to whittle this down a bit more, but yeah, essentially that's all you want to do, is just scratch off the excess hair, because you don't want it to look weird. Mustache is generally going to be really, really thin, as it is here, just because there's not a lot of room for it, and I should probably zoom this in, because there's not a lot of room for it. So the mustache, as is this one, is really thin, and I'm going to add a bit more back to it, and yeah, I'm just going to add a bit more there. And I know I just used the pin to do that, but that's just because if you just kind of touch it away with your finger, it makes the paint thinner, so you don't mess it up with your hand, or don't like fill too much room with the brush. I don't know what I'm saying right now. Usually when I try and talk and paint at the same time, I don't recognize what's coming out of my mouth before I say it. So now I just gotta scratch the beard into shape, and I may have to add a bit more paint there, but in general it looks pretty good. Actually, I don't need to add more paint. Just gonna scratch off the side there. Scratch off this side. Oh, not on frame. Of course it's not on frame. Why would anything I paint ever be on frame? I need to get under the chin, so you're not going to see this part, but I'm just lifting the figure up so I can scratch under the chin there. And just continue to scratch your figure's beard into shape if you need it. And that's off-centered, so we're gonna fix that a bit. Still off-centered, so we're gonna continue to fix that. So I'm gonna need to fix that a bit, but for the most part, and it's off screen again. For the most part, it's pretty good. I'm just gonna, oh my god, my eyes. I really shouldn't record at night, or at least painting intricate things at night, because my eyes don't really adjust that well, and then they're all like flickering and stuff, and it's not too good, because it's hard to see what I'm doing. But I think we're almost done here. Let me just re-add some beard back there. Oh. Alright, it's not the greatest head, but I think the likeness is definitely there. So as you can see, we got the Jeremy Renner likeness here. Now, like I said, likeness. One thing I do want to tell you guys is that likeness usually is subjective. So if I like the likeness I've painted, sometimes other people don't like it. If I don't like it, maybe sometimes other people think it's one of the best ones I've done. So likeness, it's like that old saying, art is in the eye of the beholder. That just, if you're really happy with the likeness, that's fine. Be happy with the likeness you've painted, because a lot of people usually may disagree with you. They'll be like, I don't see it, and you'll be like, oh well, I like it. That happens with a bunch of my likenesses. I'll be like really happy with the likeness I've got, and some people will comment like, not so sure this looks like that actor or actress. And like I said, that's completely fine. If people think that, just be like, well, you know what? I like it, and that's all that matters. So, hope that it's helped you guys out a bit. I'll probably edit this head a bit in the future. And again, like I said, if you don't like this likeness, the tips that I've still used in this video should help you with whatever likeness you're doing anyway. But yeah, guys, that's about it. Be sure to tag me if you use any of these techniques. Make sure to tag me on Instagram or Flickr. I'll just put that there. If you end up using any of these techniques, because I'd love to see what likeness you guys have gotten, and maybe, yeah, I'd just love to see that. And I'm still editing, because usually likeness is one thing I do want to tell you. You're gonna be editing it a lot. Like if you're like not so sure that works. So be prepared to take a long time if you want really good likeness. It's gonna take a while to figure out just what works and what doesn't. So again, like I said, hope you guys took something away from these techniques. Tag me if you use any of them, because I'd love to see what you guys work out. And also feel free to comment what you think my best likenesses are if you follow me on Instagram and Flickr, or not, because you know that's a little stuff learner. Thank you guys for watching, and be sure to check out my social media where I post figures way before I get around to showcasing them on YouTube. Hopefully I edit this video so that it's not as long as it took to record, and thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys later.